This is Get Off My Lawn Live. Join us as we talk trending topics, world and local issues, and the conversations that we need to talk about as people. Get Off My Lawn Live is a Nighthawk Network presentation. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Eric Buckner, and we are here to do Get Off My Lawn Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. In the meanwhile, folks, we are having some technical difficulties, so hopefully that does not affect the show too much. But in the event that the internet does fade in and out, I do apologize, and we will do our best to get back on the air in order to finish the show. But in the meanwhile, while we got everything working, good evening to you on the book, you on the tube, and you here as well on Bigo. Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate you. We are now here to talk to you about trending topics and the things we need to talk about as people, and particularly one thing that I've been dealing with personally. So I will definitely get into that this evening, time permitting. But in the meanwhile, how's everybody? Hopefully people are going to be here to talk to me and I can talk to y'all and all that good stuff. It's been kind of a trying time in my mental and just a trying time in general in the world. I do and am looking forward to talking to you guys about it. So we're going to do a quick commercial break. I'm going to share the outlet with others, and hopefully when we come back, we will talk about what is going on this blue ball we know as the Earth. Until then, this is Get Off My Lawn Live. I'm your host, Eric Buck, Uncle Nighthawk here in the Bigo streets, and we will be back to talk to you after these words from our people here at the Nighthawk Network.
Come on now. Okay, black on. Get into it. Black on. Look at that. David Ford. Right there. That's his name. Black on. He don't know Tom. Look at that. David Ford. That's his name. He don't know Tom. Yeah. Yes. Oh, here we go. Oh, I can't see the demons. I can't see the demons, but I can see the light.
We are creating black luxury across this country.
All right, people, we are back again. We're having some connectivity issues with the internet. Not sure how long it's going to stay on, if at all. If so, we will basically have to try to do the show another day and try to figure it out there. In the meanwhile, folks, hopefully we can ride this out for a few minutes. The world is having more problems with this internet. All right, Pride is in the building. What up, Pride? Just trying to get this darn internet so we can get the show in here. Have some issues, but hopefully will not persist. Basically, situation in regards to the world is that we are working on some things. Among others, is of course the latest to do about about COVID right now. Because of COVID, all the problems it has caused, it has definitely led to situations similar to that of previous problematic times in the Union, people. The president's overall ratings has gone down in the last couple of months, and most people cite the reason as to why is the pandemic and how it's being dealt with. Right now, we basically at the point in the country where 54 to 55% of the country is vaccinated. There's over 65 million people who have chosen not to be. There's confusion in regards to the vaccines, particularly now that we have some vaccines that we are able to take for boosters and some that we are not quite able to take yet, still making decisions upon them. There's the Moderna people who have chosen to pull their name out of consideration for the time being in regards to vaccines for teenagers because of some of the information they have found out and want to further test and reevaluate. There's the whole discussion of whether we should be okay with mixing the vaccines that they've done in some countries, where they basically go with whatever is available and the combination of the two are used. Most countries are looking to not do booster shots at this time as they feel they are not necessary. And there are several countries who are definitely not able to even do the first couple shots because they do not have the vaccine available to them, while we have it in big supply here. It is all a big confusion, okay? And right now, that is leading to some of the problems we're having, one of which I will just basically get into now because, again, I do not know how much longer the internet is going to work for me this evening. I'm just hoping that it does. But yeah, the supply chain, folks. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, the supply chain. In other words, when do we get to a point where we start to run out of more things? And the answer to that may be sooner than you think. And let's discuss why. So let me type in that as our discussion point. And try to reconnect with the people over here on the Vigo and go from there. All right, hold on, folks. We are making that, and we are making the banner, and hopefully the people out there in my various platforms can still hear and see me, and that the internet does not act up on me again. That is tonight's discussion, the supply chain. Okay, so here's the situation. As we know, we have reestablished ourselves from COVID in many places across the country. There are some variations of things that people are not liking, particularly in regards to mask mandates and vaccine mandates. But for the most part, most businesses are open for business. Now, the problem is, depending on what your business is, you may or may not have the people necessary to do what you need to do to properly run your business. And that is where the supply chain issues come into play. For example, if you are a shopper looking for a specific item, let's just say that item is Himalayan seasoning salt, okay? Something that's not easily found to begin with. You go to the store where you usually find it in abundance and come to find that there's either one or two on the shelves or none at all. Now, the question is, are they out or are we out? Let us explain, people. Hold on as I reconnect over here on the video. There we go. Hopefully that will work out. Thank you, Felicia, for coming on in, and Chief Devlin as well. Thank you. Now, remember, your Himalayan seasoned salt usually comes to the store, and the person that stocks the shelves is the person that puts it on the shelf. But what if the store that you have, that you get your Himalayan seasoned salt from, does not have a person to stock that? Or the people that they have to stock are not as many? That is part of the problem we are suffering in the supply chain. Remember, a lot of the big box stores have been open this entire time. People have been dealing with it in the midst of the pandemic. What many of these stores are not discussing with you, the person who buys their goods, or even the people that work in the stores, is the effect that COVID has had on business. In some of these big box stores, several outbreaks have come into play in terms of people getting COVID. Now, in many of these places, the store has not been closed. The store has not gone through any extra precautions. The store has not done any extra cleaning, as it was talked about early on in the pandemic. They have pretty much gone on business as usual. And in doing so, they have caused a rift between employer and employee. So why are a lot of these stores hiring right now? That is part of why. The protocols that are supposed to take place in regards to safeguarding is not there. Also understand, yes, many of these stores are paying more money now for employees and offering more benefits and flexibility for hours and the like. But in the same token, when it comes to the employees making overtime, that is something most employers are definitely trying to avoid. They are trying to get more people to work for them, but not willing to pay an extraordinary amount to make it happen. The thing is, they want to increase the profits, not only for this year, but also, hey Felicia, but also not lose money, but gain money, as well as make up the money that they lost during the pandemic. So in order to do that effectively, they are basically trying to hire people, bring them in for a higher wage, but not have them work over 40-hour schedule. So there is that. And then, of course, they're also trying to do the lease with the lease. So in the ideal world where your store may have 5 or 6 people stocking the shelves, it may now have 3 or 4 or 1 or 2. And where their normal time frame may be a 6 or 8-hour workday, it may be slightly longer, but not enough to where they get an exceeding extra amount of overtime. That is part of why you do not have your sea salt on the shelf. Now, also remember that salt comes from a supplier, and the way that salt gets to the store is through the people who drive it to the store. And of course, there are shortages of drivers. In fact, in terms of shortages, in terms of workers, the main industries where there are shortages are the fast food service industry, the hospitality industry, and of course, the driving industry. There are many places hiring for drivers, not even requiring half of what they normally would for you to be a driver with the company. But because a lot of people are not returning to that life as truck driver, or have moved on, or because their skill set is more valuable, they're moving on to bigger and more profitable places to work. So as a result, the people that may supply the Himalayan sea salt may not have the workers necessary to get it to that store. Another part of the supply chain issue. Let's move forward. Let's just say that yes, they have the salt, they have the worker to bring the salt, but then where you get the salt, where the salt packaging is made, they do not have the people there to package the item because factory workers are also in short supply. So there's that reason why we have an issue with the supply chain. While there are less people working in the factories, so there are less things being manufactured. Same problem, not wanting to pay the people too much overtime and not having the people necessary to effectively work the line, understanding that some things are in stronger demand or in bigger demand than they usually are. So there's that issue. Then, of course, there are the people who actually make the sea salt or harvest the sea salt that brings it to the place to be packaged and so on and so forth. That's those people. less people to pick and harvest and things of that nature, because these jobs don't pay as much as the manufacturing jobs or the big box store jobs. These are lesser people in the chain of command, and they make less money. As a result, a lot of these people, when it was time to go back to work, said, you know what, not doing that. Either I'm going to go further up the supply chain, or I'm going to do something entirely different. All right, we got a comment. What we got? Road checking in the building. What's going on, Road? Thanks for coming through as always. But yes, people, this is the supply chain issue that we have. There are several places that are not bringing in the people that they need to make things happen. There are other places where they have the people, but they're not willing to pay them the overtime necessary to resolve some of the issue. It's costing more to bring the goods to the places because, as you know, the price of gas is the highest it's been in 7 years. There is that. The amount of money it takes to bring the goods to these places is more. The amount of money it takes to bring these things to the country. Remember, a lot of our manufactured goods are not even made here in America. They come from different countries, mainly Japan, China, and Taiwan, and the like. And it costs money to get that stuff shipped here. And when it gets shipped here, guess what? Not enough people to work the shipping places in order to offload the items and goods and send them off in the trucks so they can come to us and be on the shelves. And that is something that they're trying to work out. There was a discussion about that with the Biden administration as to what they can do to help move that along. And they said that the California ports where a lot of those things come from are now going on 24/7 type ships where there will constantly be somebody working to move the supplies. But depending on who you talk to, they said that may not be enough to make up for the shortages long term. That may only be a short-term solution. As you already know, the post office is already behind in terms of delivering of the regular mail. And now, of course, we have the holidays coming, which always slows down delivery overall. But when you already have a slow situation, again, partly caused by lack of employees, partly caused by lack of people to work the trucks and what have you, then we create an even bigger issue. So do not be surprised that once we get closer to the holidays, that your mail comes even later, that your 2-day service for Amazon Prime may be thrown off some, that your delivery from the U.S. Postal Service of boxes and goods to other folks may take 2 or 3 days extra or longer to get to them. And as we come even closer to Christmas, even longer still, there will be that issue. Remember, I talked about this in my podcast well before we even got to a point where we started to re-engage. I mentioned that there will be some long-term effects from COVID that we have not considered. This was one that I actually did consider, that people would not be so quick to rush back to work. The thought process that a lot of the politicians and talking heads had, that once we basically finished out the enhanced unemployment, that there would be this huge rush of everybody going back to work. That has not been the case. Yes, unemployment rate is a little bit under 5%, which is the lowest it's been since the pandemic, but still, several people have not returned to work and have no great desire or rush to do so. And some people have returned to work, but they have moved on to greener pastures. They've taken on jobs where they can make more money and, more importantly, have benefits, jobs where they are less likely to be just let go or have the door lock on them in the event that somehow, some way, we end up going back to lockdown. These are decisions people have had the time to think about and consider and have made wiser decisions in regards to their work life. Now, the question of the day is, what effect will this have in the long run? The major people that study these things say that eventually we will get back to some sense of normal. But when that will actually be depends on 3 things. One, obviously, where we go in terms of COVID. Right now, we are getting into the winter months soon. And in the last 2 years, COVID numbers have gone up in the winter months. The hope is that now that we have the majority of the country vaccinated, that will not be the case. In the last 30 days, numbers have gone down over 30% across the country, and definitely deaths and hospitalizations have gone down in most places. However, here in Michigan, we still have over 3,000 people a day testing positive for COVID. Basically, if there was a map of my people in my life in terms of who has had COVID and who has been around people with COVID, that map will be littered with folks, literally. Several people in my circle of folks that I have contended with at some point in time have had COVID, gotten COVID, or know someone who has COVID. And despite that fact, some of them still are not being cautious in regards to how they deal with it. Many of the employers now, when someone has COVID, as opposed to taking the previous protocols where basically if you had one or more people that have COVID to kind of shut down your operations and have everybody quarantined, that has not been the case in most places. Basically, they isolate that person and they keep the party going. And that's not always a good thing, because oftentimes when they are doing that, it leads to other people contracting COVID just as well. And yes, as we all know, the vast majority of people that have gotten COVID-19 will not die, will not even be sick. But it's not about that person, it's about who they may potentially get sick that will have complications, that will have to be hospitalized, that will possibly die from COVID. Those are the people that makes it important for us to still be cautious in regards to how we move with this thing. Now, the supply chain issue, some of it is not going to be resolved overnight. Some of it may not even get resolved at all. Keep in mind, some of your favorite restaurants and fast food places, they may ultimately not be open soon. A lot of places here now still may be open, but are not open for dining, are only doing carry out only, are only open on certain days. There is a place here that basically went from opening them 24 hours to only opening 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the way it's set up is that they are not doing a steady business. Around the time they are closed, they close up shop. They call it a day. Basically trying to save whatever money they can to keep things going. So how much of that can the market withstand? How much can the businesses in question deal with before they have to look at it from a standpoint, okay, we're not making any money, or we're making so little money it's not even worth being open as much, if at all. And then, of course, let's look at the prices, because that, of course, is being affected by the supply chain. Have you seen the prices of meat lately, for example? Went to buy some lamb chops the other day. 2 lamb chops, people. 2 lamb chops. $14. Again, 2 lamb chops. 2 of them. $14. You go to certain restaurants, lamb chop dinner, which usually contains 3 lamb chops in most places, may cost anywhere from $24 to $35 for the dinner, for the 3 lamb chops. So you say, okay, I'm done with lamb chops. I eat chicken. And a lot of places, the average place that sells chicken breast, an average chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast, runs anywhere from $3 to $7, depending on where you go. A lot of places that used to sell the wingy dings, like the cut up pieces of wing, a lot of those places not selling those. They're not available. There's a severe shortage on chicken. It said that there will be a shortage on turkey as we get closer into the holiday season. Even the burger is costing $4 to $6 in some places. These small packs of burger. So yeah, we got a problem, people. It's not that we don't have the meat. We just don't have enough people in the supply chain to get the meat from moo to on the plate. There are people missing from those places. And until we can either replace them with folks or work out other ways to get that a little quicker to where we need to get it to, we will continue to have problems. Inflation, they call it. When things become inflated due to whatever reason, understand we already know the reason. The reason is COVID. And I don't care if Stupid was still in charge. I don't care if Biden's in charge. I don't care if any of the other 20 plus candidates from the Democratic side were in charge right now. They all will be facing this issue. And they all would have a struggle because, again, part of the struggle comes from the fact that a lot of our society here in the United States and across the world, honestly, they do not trust the vaccine. They do not trust being vaccinated. And the worst thing that could happen is the fact that some people who are fully vaccinated are still contracting COVID, and some of them are still dying. And there's enough of those people to make people leery as to get it. Now, understand there are over 8 million people who have received the Pfizer booster shot right now here in America. But then there are people leery of getting the booster shot. There are people confused as to whether or not they qualify. I do know now that I do qualify, but I'm not sure when I'm going to get it. Quite honestly, I definitely do not want to mix and match the vaccine. In other words, I got the Moderna. I am waiting for the Moderna to become available for the booster before I get a booster shot. But because there are so many people in my inner circle and around me that are either not vaccinated, or I've been around several people who are vaccinated, in order for me to be comfortable in their space, not to mention my work environment, I think it will be necessary for me to consider doing so. So that is part of our issue with the supply chain people. I do not know when or if we're going to resolve this anytime soon. I really thought, as many of us did when they first went through the whole let's shut it down for a few weeks, that it would only be a couple months at the most. Never in my wildest nightmare did I believe that we would be in a situation that we are now in regards to COVID. And then, of course, the wisdom of just wearing a mask or keeping your distance when you can and all the other protocols, some people, they refuse. They don't see the sense of it. They have either got COVID and were fine, or had everybody in their circle get COVID and fine, or they are so deeply entrenched in, you're taking my personal freedom away. Don't take away my freedom. There's that. You are poisoning my body with this stuff. I will not have you poison my body. You are chipping me with things and all the other crazy stuff, all that bad, outlandish information that's out there. Please stop listening to some of that stuff. It is so very not true. Please do your due diligence before you make any thorough decision in regards to vaccines. Do not just believe the first crazy thing you see on YouTube. Please do some research. Talk to some people who are actual medical professionals. That is part of the very bad part of this. There are less people in the healthcare business because, quite frankly, you don't trust them. And as a result, they don't want to work for you anymore. They do not want to be involved in trying to make you better. They don't want to be healthcare workers anymore because you make it hard for them. They are the ones doing the doubles, seeing the people die on a daily basis, being the last line of people that person sees before they die because of the nature of COVID, and we cannot have our loved ones come visit us at the end. They are tired of seeing that scene play over and over again. As a result, they and many other people in the work area that are dealing with high volumes of COVID, they are quitting. They are quitting their profession. Professions that in some cases people have done for 20, 30, 40 plus years. They're quitting flat out. Our teachers quitting. Our nurses quitting. Our doctors quitting. Our healthcare professionals in general quitting. Our people that are working in our long-term care facilities quitting outright. Done. Don't want to be bothered. Rather do something else, less stressful. So the question is, where do the replacements come from? People are basically going to college to study these things. A lot of people are changing their majors from these things. Why would you want to be a scientist or a doctor right now when basically either the media or the people who don't trust the media are saying don't trust them? It's because they got an agenda. They are saying this because they're trying to get you to buy more medicine, whatever the case may be. These are part of the things that are causing the problems that's affecting the supply chain. So let me foresee something that some of you guys do not. Price of gas going up already. It's going to keep going up. There may very well be a day sometime in the winter where we're paying $4.50, $5 for gas. That means it's going to cost more to take that bus. Going to cost more to take the plane where you want to go. going to cost more for you to catch the Uber or the Lyft. It's going to cost. And then because of that, less people will be able to afford to go to the minimal jobs. I cannot afford to go to work if in the end half of my money is going to get to work. I can't work here. I need to work somewhere else. Want to make more money. Some of these places that are not offering overtime and are overworking their workers for the 40 hours they're there, they will lose more workers because they will get tired. They will be upset. They will say, hey, I've been doing this for months now, and where's it getting me? Nowhere. No raise, no extra help, no nothing. I'm out of here. And then we have a whole nother situation. I think a lot of that will go on. Understand the president, who is Biden, has tried to set up a mandate for all companies that have 100 and more employees to basically mandate that the vaccine or weekly or biweekly testing be required in their workplace. Several people have adhered to that. Other people refuse to do so. They don't want to deal with all the smoke that it causes, okay? There are people in the law enforcement community that do not want to enforce these things. They do not want to come to your workplace trying to put people out because they're on COVID. There are a lot of people that hate to have to fire people, and the only reason they're firing this person who otherwise is a good employee is because of COVID. They don't want these things to happen. They are trying their best to avoid such things. And then, of course, there are the other extremes that's going on, like in the state of Texas and Florida and some of those places. Don't even get me started. But yes, our problem with the supply chain is a growing one and will continue because we as a country, and I say me too, we are not ready to properly contend with this thing the way we need to in order for it to be resolved. And until we get to that point, people, I don't know what the next move is. I don't think any of us does. So until then, be prepared. Be prepared to pay more money for your food, for your gas, for going places, for being places, for going to the movies and everything else. Because without resolving this issue now or very, very soon, prices is going up. They already have foreseen this in the government. That's why there will be a 6% increase in Social Security payments next year due to cost of living increases in a lot. But that's still not enough money for any of those who have cared for a elderly person or knows of their finances. You know that money that they get to live off of is not a lot of money to work with. Not at all. So there's that issue. But at any rate, we need to be aware of these things and we need to pay attention because right now, if you're spending it freely, you might want to do no less freely spending. You might want to consider these things when Christmas comes and you spend all this money on Christmas and Thanksgiving and whatnot, because that money might be money you very well need in the year to come. Just something to think about. But at any rate, that's my discussion with the supply chain. When we come back to Get Off My Lawn Live, hopefully the internet will still be working and we will discuss another thing of a more personal nature with myself. I really want to talk about why I have kind of gone through a little turn and basically explain to you guys what that's about. So let me take this commercial break. When we get off, we will have that discussion. Give me a second here, and here we go.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Behind the Blue Curtain, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Unscripted talk on police reform and race relations.
And now, Behind the Blue Curtain's law enforcement liaison, retired 32-year Chicago police veteran, homicide detective, former commander, sergeant, grant writer, lecturer, and adjunct professor, Joseph J. Mosley.
Behind the Blue Curtain's Minister of Common Sense, former 12-year Fort Worth police officer, educator, voice of reason, and unapologetic practitioner of sound judgment, the young scholar, LaRonda Young.
Behind the Blue Curtain's co-host, fact checker, and investigative journalist, Isidoro Rodriguez.
What's up, everybody? We are back. Get off my lawn live. Shout out to my man Stan Mason. He did not do the show this weekend. He had some things he was dealing with outside of the podcast world, so he took the week off. And it happens from time to time, and it also happens in real life. So, thusly, that begins our discussion about trying to cope. Now, people understand that over the last couple of weeks, I kind of been going through some things from an emotional and mental standpoint. Let me explain. Basically, once upon a time, there I was working 2 jobs, doing my best to get my finances together, and things were starting to go in a positive direction. Then suddenly there was this thing called COVID-19 that led to a thing called the lockdown and the pandemic. And it changed the way that my world was working, and it ultimately changed the way that I looked at the world, period. What happened was during the course of the first few weeks of the pandemic, I, like many other people out there, as many people have talked about it, I became depressed and not quite myself. Primarily because the thing lasted a lot longer than we knew it would. They basically initially said a couple weeks and we'll be good. That couple weeks became a couple months and then several months. And I was not prepared to deal with that on that level. There was the whole financial problem with trying to get unemployment and how long it took to get that settled. The bills piled up, and then when I got the money, did a few things for myself, but for the most part, had to invest it in trying to get caught up. Keeping in mind that I was already behind to begin with, and pretty much played the catch-up game for the most part of my unemployed life. That was the bad thing about it all. Then there was the good thing. I started to look at the world a little different. Part of it was because I was losing some of my close friends and loved ones. Part of it was because I started to see how people dealt with COVID, and I felt a lot of them dealt with it in a very selfish and self-centered way. And it forced me to look at them differently. People that I normally would not care as much about or think as much about in terms of how they thought, I started to see them in a whole different light. And it was not always a good thing. But during the course of that, I met other people along the way. Because as you know, during the pandemic, that is when I started my podcast journey. And it led to me meeting several wonderful people, many of which are the people that I now call part of my Nighthawk Network. And with the help of them, I got through most of that time during the pandemic because we were all in the same boat. We all were seeking to help one another kind of cope with it all. And it all worked good for us. We had a good system. We were checking in on each other. We were saying prayers and condolences and all the like. But then COVID started to die down and we started to go back to some sense of normality. Now, for some of us, that meant that, okay, now we are going back to where we worked and deal with all of that. Some of us, it took us a little longer to get there. Some of us had to find ways to cope with what we had lost. Remember, several people have lost their loved ones. There are several people now who are basically what they call COVID orphans, where they have lost both their mom and their dad to COVID. And they are now living their life with someone else. And it has changed their whole way of life. Understand, if you are living with two parents and they are both working and taking care of you, you are their only child, but then suddenly they are gone and you are now living with an uncle or a grandmother who may not have the cachet to deal the same way. It changes the way you are able to do things. If one day you are in school and then suddenly you are not able to go to school, remember, some people have finished up their whole high school years during the pandemic. You started in 10th grade, COVID hit, and you did not see a classroom again, period. And now you are out here in the world. You are graduated, but you do not have your full set of skills because there were some things that you were meant to learn that you were unable to. But because you passed the qualifications necessary to be out of school, there you have it. Same with college. There were some people deeply into college, and then suddenly junior year, we in COVID. And they graduated during that time. Hey, can you be my opponent for the Impossible Starbucks PK? Depends on what time it is, my friend. Let me know the time. We will see what we could do. But yeah, we were not ready for COVID in that way. Not physically, not mentally, not financially. Now, some of us, we definitely dealt with it differently than others. Some people, they said, COVID be damned. I refuse. No, won't be able to do it now. Sorry, sorry. I'm still doing the show. But they said, COVID be damned. I'm going to do me. I'm going to keep doing me. And we are going to do the best that we can to forget COVID is even out here. I don't care what's closed. I don't care who's not doing what. I'm going to keep having fun. Oh, that's okay. Understood. Under normal circumstance, any other time or not, for free, we could do it. Absolutely. But yeah, I don't care about no COVID. I'm doing me. And either you're gonna do me with me, or you go ahead and sit by the side, and I'm still gonna be out here. And in the case of me, some of those people were people I was close to. People who looked at it and said, okay, well, it's just like the flu, or well, people ain't getting that sick like that, or I've only had a couple people die. I ain't worried about me. I'm young and healthy, whatever the case may be. And I dealt with them differently, and they dealt with me different. And as time has gone on, that continues to be the case. I don't see them the same way. They don't see me the same way. I have not only lost friends to COVID, I've also lost friends because of COVID and how they view it and how I view it. And all these many things, along with some of my own personal demons, had come into play over the last few days. It got very difficult to contend. One night, basically, I did not sleep. I do have sleep issues. I have sleep apnea. And because of the overweight and everything else, supposed to use a CPAP machine that did not work out so well for me over the years. Still not working out well. But the reason why I couldn't sleep was not because of that issue. It was because of the issue of me replaying thoughts in my head, trying to figure stuff out. What to do about this? What to do about that? Why have I gone from this extreme to that extreme back to this extreme? Remember, there was a time I was working 3 jobs post-pandemic, and it was a lot. It was paying the bills, but in the same token, my rest quotient and some of the other projects I wanted to work on, particularly dealing with the Nighthawk Network and the like, I was not able to do because of that. There are things on Vigo that I planned on doing at that point, were unable to do, just did not have the energy or the strength to manage to make it happen. As time has went on, that situation has changed a little bit in terms of the job, but me trying to make up for lost time with other things made it to where I'm just running the hamster wheel, y'all, constantly trying to keep up and make up. And then there's other things that are more deeply personal that I can't really get into on the air. But for those of you who personally know me, you kind of have an idea what some of that is about. But ultimately, I got to a point last week and the week before where it's like, I just can't do this like this. And I don't know what to do about it. There is no option in my world where you say, you know what, I'm done. Because done means done. And that is never an option for you, me, or anybody else. Whenever you get to that point in anything, you need to stop and seek help now. There should never be anything that goes on in your life that causes you to say, I no longer want to be here. Not here, Detroit. Not here, Vigo. Talk about here, planet Earth, live. Never should you get to that point about anything. If you find yourself slipping into that, please seek out help. Now, that being said, I never got to that point, but I did get to some bad spaces in my head. Shout out to my coworker, Miss Carol, who noticed that I had not been quite myself lately. And that led to a discussion at work where I found there were other people like myself. And we're having this discussion now because I think there's some of you out there. You are not coping well in a post or basically in a world, still dealing with a world pandemic. It's not playing out well for you. You have been depressed a lot. You have lost some of your serious support system in the course of this. You've lost a brother, a mother, a friend, a lover, what have you. And as a result, your world is not the same. And you are not ready to truly move on because you are still dealing with that loss and that hurt. You are still trying to find a way to cope in a post-COVID world. You're still trying to be comfortable out here in the streets. Understand, this mask I wear everywhere. Basically, if I'm not in the house, more than likely, you will see me with this mask on my face. Even if I'm simply just walking outside. Outside. If I'm going to the store, if I'm going to the laundromat, if I'm going to work, if I'm basically going to the park, whatever the case may be, I wear this mask. I am not comfortable with being around people. Even there are people in my circle, everybody at my job is fully vaccinated. And I'm not even comfortable around them without my mask. And that is something we have talked about. I am the only person at work that pretty much wears my mask the entire time I am there, with maybe the exception of when I step outside for a minute by myself or when I may go to the bathroom. But for the most part, I wear it. It's to the point where some days I forget I even have it on. One night I actually went to bed with this thing on. It was just that deep. I did not ever want to set out in this thing and become the crazy COVID guy, as somebody had once called me at one point during this thing. That was never my intention. But that being said, if that has caused people to deal with things differently and be more careful in regards to COVID, if I have had them to had some type of thought process and led them to either get vaccinated or change how they dealt with their circle of people, I'm not mad at that. Because if that's what it would take to keep you alive, I would gladly be the crazy COVID guy all over again. And again, I do not know what the future may hold. Despite my carefulness and wearing the mask and whatnot, I could come up COVID positive tomorrow when we do our weekly test for all I know. And then what? Again, it does not mean that I'm going to die. I know that. I understand all the wherewithals. Only 2.5% of all people that contract COVID end up dying at this point. But again, that's over 5.5 million people worldwide. That is not a number that I take lightly. That's over 700,000 people in the United States. Again, not a number I take lightly. That's like basically me waking up one day and my entire city of Detroit is gone. It is that many people. You wake up after 2 years and you discover nobody that you knew in the city of your birth is here anymore. It is that many people. If you woke up and in basically 32 of the 50 states, every last person that lived there is gone when you look at the world number. 5.5 million people, 30 of the 50 states do not have that many people in them. So it's like if you woke up and Montana was gone, Utah was gone, Oregon gone, nobody there but you. If you thought about it that way, would you deal with it differently? I often say this, and I still feel this way. The vast majority of people who have died from COVID have been older people and people with compromised immune systems. If it was the young people and the babies who were dying from COVID, will we deal with it differently then? Will we be more careful or cautious? Will we care more then if it was the younger people who were dying from COVID and not the older people? These are literally the things that have kept me up at night lately. And I'm basically trying my best to deal. And so I basically had a moment the other day at work when we discussed this and learned that I'm not the only person out here that feels that way. So part of why I'm having this discussion at the moment is because if you in turn feel this way about what's going on, perhaps you need to do what I ultimately found out I need to do and find somebody to talk to about it. Because it's not good to deal with this alone, to deal with these feelings and emotions alone. And like I said, I'm not the only person that feels that way. And I'm not the only person that felt like they really couldn't talk to anybody about it. But fortunately for me, we had that discussion at work. And as a result, we are now going to have a focus meeting every week in regards to that. So me and a few of my co-workers, we will meet and talk about our feelings in regards to society and trying to cope and deal with it a little better. And hopefully we can get ourselves through it. For my people in the Nighthawk Network who I have not been in contact with as much, that is part of why, what I've been going through. I know several of you have noticed I have not been quite myself lately. That is part of why I'm having trouble coping. And it's okay if you need help. One of the things that bothers me, particularly about people in our African American or minority communities, we look at needing help in terms of our psyche and emotional state as a weakness. We see it as something that only white people do. Only white people go to other psychiatrists or psychologists and whatnot. That is so far from the case. There are several people who are highly qualified who just happen to be people that look like me, that are psychologists and psychiatrists and the like, to help people deal and cope with things. There are a lot of people and their means of dealing are different in that they don't look to talk it out. They look to work it out themselves. They look to self-medicate. They take an inordinate amount of marijuana in their system. They take a lot of extra drinks to the head. They drink the lean and take the opiates and the Xanax and whatnot in unsubscribed dosage. They treat themselves, and oftentimes that led to worse problems for them. There's a reason why there is an opiate crisis right now, where more people are dying from opiate overdoses than any time in the history of the world. That 3 times as many people have died from opiates this year alone than any year previously. There are people who are ODing on alcohol every day, just trying to cope, because instead of coping, they try to mask the problem. If they are drunk as all hell and blackout drunk, it is a lot easier to deal that way than to have to sit down and consider the possibilities. There are people who smoke way more than they should. Understand, I have smoked marijuana on rare occasions, still do. That being said, if you are looking up and one day you have a bag of marijuana and the next day that bag is empty and you are looking for another bag, you may have an issue. Something to consider. Some things are not about the medication. Some things are about the discussion, about sitting down with someone who can actually help you. And remember, you do not necessarily have to go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, or worker of that. If you have a pastor you are comfortable talking to, if you have a good friend, if you have basically a group like I got with my coworkers, whatever you need to do to get in a better state of mind, to gain some understanding, to help get you through this safely, that's what I think you should do. So basically, that's what I'm doing. So over the course of the next several weeks, I'm working through some of these things. So sometimes I will not be available to help or to talk or on the Bigo as much or whatever the case may be. We are working these things out. We are trying our best to get to a place where I'm comfortable again in society. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where it's like, well, I'm like the rest of y'all now. Mask be damned. If I get it, I get it. I hate that. I hate that people say that, and more importantly, I hate that people are thinking that. I will never get to that point, but I at least want to get to a point to where I'm not questioning the people that I grew up loving and caring about. I don't want to villainize them in that way, nor do I want them to see me as the crazy COVID guy. Not here on Bigo, not here on the Tube, Facebook, none of that. Does that mean I'm going to stop talking about these issues altogether? Of course not. I would be fraudulent to myself if I did that. Does it mean I'm not going to worry about them to some degree? I definitely will. But I will try to find a comfortable medium where it all works out for me in regards to that. That is my goal. And I say to all of you, any of you who see this, whether now or in the rebroadcast, if you are seeking our help, if you need somebody to talk to in regards to that, if you want to talk to me about it, you feel comfortable talking to me about how I felt about it or how you feel about it or any of that, feel free to get in contact with me. You have my chat available here on the Bigo. And for those of you on the broadcast who want to contact me at the Nighthawk Network, you can do so by using our email address here, nighthnetwork313@gmail.com. Again, that's nighthnetwork313@gmail.com. So that being said, that is that discussion, my friends. Hey, bitches. Helena Hologram checking in. Feel free at this time, Helena, to promote the show. There's a big show that Helena has been working on, and we definitely want you guys to know about it. I would definitely like for her at this time to go ahead and let us know what it is about and all of that. Feel free to type that in as I'm finishing up here. Understand, people, I am one of several people in my Nighthawk Network sharing our stories and our values. Remember, oftentimes we do these shows to help educate, entertain, but sometimes we do these shows as therapy for us. This part of this show was definitely therapy for me because I needed some of you to know how I was really feeling about some stuff. And that I have done now. So then, of course, there is Pastor Sean Love Presents. He is back after a little hiatus. He is doing his show. He has sent me the link to his latest show, which we will air tomorrow. Girl Stop Podcast. I've not spoken to my cousin or her cohort. They have stopped production for the time being. I will find out soon what that's about. As you know, Stan did not do his show this week, but he is doing a show weekly. Stan Mason's Behind the Blue Curtain. We got Let's Talk with Aunt Nikki, the interview series that she will be starting back soon, hopefully. Dish and Tea, which will be on tonight. It's a very good possibility I will make an appearance on Dish and Tea to discuss real briefly with them as well. No Weapon Formed Against Us, Thursdays with Dr. Marla Facey, as well as her Tuesday show, Monumental Moments in God's Word. Check those out. And of course, there's Hey Bitches. I've waited, but I will tell you that Helena Hologram is about to do her first year anniversary show of Hey Bitches Live. It will be airing on Monday, November 1st, 2021. She will continue to give you a preview of what that show will be about. You check her out tomorrow. She will definitely talk about it. We are gearing up for that and the start of season 3 of her show. I will also begin season 3 of my show in the new year as well. I will tell you that there is a 50-50 chance that we will not be broadcasting next week at this time. And we definitely will not be broadcasting the week after, as is the weekend of my birthday. And I have things planned to attempt to do. So there is that. But assuming that we will be back next week, I'm looking forward to talking to you and speaking with you. Of course, let's not also forget our show known as Game Time Audible with Hugh Lee, the sports guru, will be on at 9 p.m. Well, actually, we have changed the show time to 8 p.m. to accommodate certain things. So you can find us now at 8 p.m. on Wednesday to talk sports with you guys. Always look forward to having those discussions. And of course, this week we will also be doing on Thursday the Get Off My Lawn After Dark edition. Very interesting discussions to be had this week. Remember, that's for mature audiences only. Please have that understanding coming into the room. Now, an idea where I would like if more people would have been a part of the show this evening. I know we are still dealing with summertime and summer issues and the fact that we come on during football season and all of that good stuff. But hopefully some of you will go back and check out what was said on the show. And of course, if you want to check out previous episodes of this show, you may go to the link here, which is Eric Buckner, Nighthawk Network Detroit. And make sure you like and subscribe when you do so. And you can find this show or any of the shows that have previously aired. So there is that. That being said, for me and for Bernie, what up, Bernie? Keep doing what you need to do, bro. We are going to head on out of here, and we will catch up with you guys hopefully. If not next week, definitely Wednesday when we do the game time audible. So let us find the outro. Let's see where it be. There it is. Till next time, y'all. We out.